none of this knew, because he didn't have any gay qualities. He was athletic, and he was real popular in high school and student council. Never even, there wasn't even a hint of it, except he never went out with the girls, but neither did I. Yeah. And then years later, he was 39, and he died of AIDS. By that time, there were a lot of us that knew, but he was so shameful that he would never come out. And then we knew, because in the papers it said he left his significant other, and it was a guy. And by then, people had known. And I had always thought, had the times been different, maybe he would have been more relaxed and come out with it, and wouldn't have been so much of a secret. There would have been so much stress he had to go through. Because after he died, people told these other schoolmates they would see his mother in the street, and she would just hang her head down like she was ashamed. She was ashamed that her son had turned out to be, homosexual. But he was a really nice guy. So what I'm thinking is probably, even though it's difficult now, it's probably easier than it was, because I had writing, after I retired, I took all these writing classes at City College, and there was a gay creative writing instructor that he spoke about his homosexuality and how he struggled with it, and his father was this really strict Italian guy, and as time went on, things became more relaxed, and so he ended up marrying his partner, and his father accepted him and embraced them both. And I asked the guy, well, how do you think it would have been in the beginning, and when you were younger? And he said, oh, he probably would have killed me then. But because the times have changed and people became more accepting, and it was okay. He's still teaching and very popular and instructor. So I'm just thinking, probably from your experience, I don't know, you're finding that as time goes on, people are more accepting of it.
Yeah, I think that's the case, except in the church.
Except in the church.
Yeah. So the dilemma that Christians, gay Christians have is, where do I go? Is there a place for me? And then if you're, if you're a minority, ethnic minority, too, right? You have to deal with that too, feeling like, is there a place for me?
But I'm wondering why. God, why is it the church that's so different than any other part of society that's accepting of it?
Well, the church, the Bible, again, in my studies, in my reading, has made a very clear stance on the issue. And what people do is they combine that with their own personal repulsion to the issue. The teasing at school, a real man doesn't do that. All of that gets lumped in with it as well. And then for that reason, why we've taken that on as the main thing, it could be said that with the greater acceptance of homosexuality and the prominence of the gay community, because it is becoming more prominent, that the church has seen need to really stand out against it. When you see the issue of gay marriage and how it's really starting to spread throughout the country. Interestingly enough, the states that have chosen gay marriage, the states where it's been on the ballot, it's been overturned in every single state. The states where it's been by a court or so, that's where it's been made legal. I just think that's interesting. But again, even the tide is turning with that. There's wider acceptance for gay marriage. Marian, I would kind of disagree at some level that I do think that there is more of an openness to love and accept gays, if not the practice, but to show greater love to the people. I don't think that there can be a wider discussion on this topic without there being some more openness and acceptance of them and loving them as someone who's created by God. So I do think that that's changing. In the African American church, you have what's called the DL, or the down low, where you have gay men who may be married and have kids or have girlfriends, but kind of creep on the side and have homosexual relationships. But there also is public knowledge of gays in the church community, particularly in the areas of the arts, in choirs and in music and such. It is there. There's always been a very outward gay representation there. Sometimes the person is outwardly gay, is open about it. Sometimes they're not, and they're accepted. They're loved for their gifts. It doesn't mean that the lifestyle is accepted, but they are accepted as a part of the community. So we do see that. I do see that it's becoming more acceptable. I'm not sure how my church would have welcomed someone, and again, and I apologize because it probably sounds like stereotyping, someone who was perceived to be gay, as this gentleman was accepted a few months back.
I'd heard that too, that in the African American churches, that the worship leaders, the soloists, the choir directors, isn't there a conference for worship leaders in African church worship leaders? Because we had an African American woman who was our worship leader for many years, and I remember her saying that she'd go to these conferences,
yeah.
and it was clear that a lot of the worship leaders in African American churches were gay,
yeah.
and it was like it's accepted there though. I mean, it's an accepted part of an African American faith community is that your worship leader can be gay or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
She said it was like not an issue there, even though they're all Christians.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
Not accepted, not an issue. Probably more so it is what it is. It's just it's there. It's been there for a while, and again, but they're loved, they're appreciated for their gifts. Of course, that's definitely not every case because you don't want to stereotype in that area either. But it's something that has been recognized.
There's something to that being in the arts though, because the two pastors, ministers that I know, that's where they started in church ministry, is in worship. So,
yeah.
There's something about being in worship and worship arts ministries that. But yeah, I think that we're not that far apart. Actually, it's the because you're saying that you can accept the possibility that it's an inborn condition, and if that's the case, then a core committed Christian, the answer would be celibacy,
Yeah.
and that I think that is a fine. For me, I kind of used to be there, and then again, it has to do with my relationship with my friends who are gay, that their desire to be in an intimate relationship with someone, just like I would want to be in an intimate relationship with someone. Yeah, that and that they feel that God created them to be relational, and so what do you do with that? And so I've actually come over to the side of the monogamous. So this is actually an argument for gay marriage. Is if you can make a committed relationship, like the Christian church asks heterosexual couples to make a committed relationship, commitment to one person for life, then that can be blessed. And so that's kind of where I stand. But I think that either solution, either celibacy or a monogamous marriage type relationship can be worked into a Christian worldview.
Again, I just don't see Scripture giving any categories where it's acceptable, and that's probably not a surprise. But certainly we can't agree on the celibacy issue, just as I would say for homosexuals. And as a heterosexual who wants to be in a relationship, yeah, it sucks, majorly, but I think every Christian is called to take up their cross, deny themselves, and follow Jesus. I think part of the Christian walk, for every Christian, there's some self-denial. And for some it's a small part, for some it's a lot of it, but I do think that builds character, and Peter talks about how it builds perseverance and it builds endurance. And so I do think that self-denial is a part of the Christian walk that no Christian can avoid, being crucified with Christ. That's just something that every Christian has to come to grips with, whatever that denial is for that individual person.
Let me pass around this kind of a flow chart that my pastor and a friend of mine